I'm Jamie Flinchball, and today we continue our series on trust. One of the questions that was asked in my video on 4 C's of trust was someone asking my philosophy on parting ways with teammates who don't have the ability to lead the journey but are in important roles. Now, before I get into answering that, we're going to link to the original 4 C's of Trust video, but we are also conducting research, and we have a short survey that we'll include in the links below that we hope you'll take, and please contribute to this research. We will share this ultimately in an article, especially with anyone who contributes to the survey. They'll get it first, and once the survey is complete, we'll replace that link with the resulting article itself. So please do contribute to that. Now, returning to the question, the person who asked it did frame the question under the assumption that you've already done coaching. Now, I do want to return to that because I think it's an assumption worth challenging. And what I mean by that is we'll often say that we did try to coach them, right? We have coached them, it hasn't worked. But very often that someone who doesn't seem coachable, they're coached by the wrong person, whether it's based on role or relationship or the capabilities of the coach. And so sometimes finding the right coach is a huge impact on that individual's abilities. We see this in sports all the time. A player struggling under one coach, a new coach comes in and all of a sudden they blossom. Now, maybe that's the capabilities of the coach, and maybe it's just about the right fit. But just because you've tried coaching, really examine, well, did we do it once and it didn't work? Were we not persistent enough? Was it not the right coach? And I think that's an important assumption because it is hard to assume that a lot of people aren't coachable. Now, before we get into the rest, what does this have to do with trust? Well, 2 things. One, that leader might be a detriment to the culture of trust. And so that is one of the factors. Their ability to build trust in the journey is a factor. And what are you doing around that? And then second, how you handle this situation can either deteriorate trust or help build it. And so I think that's pretty important. Now, as you're looking at this particular individual, there's a big difference, I believe, a huge difference really, between not being able to lead the journey or actually leading counter to the journey. Are they actually a detriment or are they just not an advantage? And those are 2 very different situations. How much you have to deal with it, how you deal with it, really depends on your answer to that. And of course that's a continuum. There's no black and white answer there, but it's important to understand really what is the problem that you're dealing with. Again, I invest an ounce of energy and we go take a step forward, but then there's 2 steps back because of this person. That's a very different problem than they just aren't moving forward fast enough. Now, in many cases, especially assuming that you don't have the ability to remove the person, you really just fundamentally have to find a way to overcome them. Now, this usually looks like either out-lead them, right? You just have to provide leadership that exceeds theirs. I don't mean positionally exceeds, that is stronger, more compelling, that more people follow. And it's not uncommon. We've seen, I'll share an example of one where we really spent a lot of time working on how to get the CEO of this organization to become a leader of lean. And it just really fundamentally didn't work. They weren't programmed for it. They didn't spend enough time in the organization. There were all sorts of constraints. But the COO of the organization was a fantastic leader. Very much not just bought in, but passionate about lean. And so we just said, fine, just have the COO out-lead the CEO on this particular topic. Just be a stronger leader, a stronger voice, a more compelling vision for people to follow. So out-lead them, or simply outflank them, right? Get other people going by building an alliance, building an effort, and working around them, outflank them without them having to be in the way. Now, again, assuming that you don't have the ability to remove them, there's also fundamentally putting them in a box. This might look like you want their role to be to sort of kick off events. You give them speaking notes, you define their role, and they don't have to lead, but their opportunities to lead are scripted by you, are led by you. You have the opportunity to define their activities around leadership. Now, this really only works when they simply aren't leading. If they're actually a detriment, that's probably still not going to work. And then finally, you do have to look at removing people. Sometimes you're on a transformation and not everybody's going to make it. Not everybody is a good fit for that type of change, especially at a leadership role. And you do have to, if you have that ability, remove that person at least from that role. They might have a great fit somewhere else in the organization. And so, but you do have to examine how you got there in the first place. Most often, they were promoted into that role under assumptions of what was required that predates your transformation. And so they were hired into that role or promoted into that role with very good reasons, but those reasons have changed now that you're on a journey. But whether you're hiring for the wrong reasons, promoting for the wrong reasons, your criteria is wrong, you're making bad decisions, you do have to go back and look at your process and examine how you got there in the first place. So you will have leaders in roles that are a detriment to your journey, that might be a detriment to your culture of trust. And so there's many avenues that you can pursue to deal with that. But you have to own all of those decisions. Understand what chess moves you have available to you and what you don't have available to you. But fundamentally, there's always moves that you can make. And certainly, if it becomes that important, then you owe it to yourself, you owe it to the organization to take those steps. So thank you again for your question. Please do go follow that survey link below, and we'll see you again here soon. Thank you.